This is Sassafras from Scrappy Mania, and I'm excited to show you a new technique that I just discovered. And actually, my inspiration for this technique is from a paper line that Sassafras have, and it's actually flowers. It's called Foldies. Their product is called Foldies, and what it is just a bunch of flowers that you punch them out and then you fold them in order to make like a three-dimensional cluster like you see here. And let me show you one of my Foldies. This is one that I created, and it's kind of on an angle. This one it's meant to, when I designed it, I meant to make it like for a corner. But then I have other ones that I have designed, like this one, which is mainly just a straight line. And you can also cut it. Like this strip, this Foldie that I created was actually these flowers with these flowers and this flower. And I really didn't want to put the whole strip down, so I cut them and I put them on my layout here. Now, this is a great technique for you to kind of get your strips. Like I've been making albums, mini albums, and I'm getting all these strips of paper that I have. So I decided to kind of use these strips to paper and create these Foldies. So you can create these ahead of time, you can store them, and then when you need it for your layout, you basically just color them in and cut them out. So let's go ahead and create one real quick. I'm using the Martha Stewart stamp, but you can use any kind of stamp. You can use a flower stamp. You can use icons if you want. You can use a bunch of butterflies. You can use a bunch of birds. The ones that Sassafras sells is only flowers. But then I've been mixing some of my bird icons within the flowers, and they actually they're coming out very nice, like this one here. And it's still kind of wet because what I do is once I cut it out, I put some glitter glue in the middle, and that's what I use to kind of give it a little bit of that flair. So let me go ahead and show you, and let's get started. So I'm going to take a strip of paper, and then I'll create an angle one for you too. So the first one I'm going to do it's just a straight one. And you really need to use Stays On ink, because if you're going to do any kind of watercolor technique, any markers or anything like that, it helps if you use an ink that it's not going to bleed. So I'm using Stays On. And then you also want to start with your biggest flower in the middle. All my Foldies, the biggest flower is always in the middle, and then I work myself out from there. So let me go ahead and get the next biggest flower stamp. And it always helps to have like a cushion surface to stamp on, especially when you're using acrylic stamp, because you get a better impression when you do that. Now this one, and you kind of have to figure out where you want to put the flower. I want to put flower down upward a little bit, because when I make my connection, I'm planning to make it here, so that way it folds up. Okay, and then I'm going to put another one, and maybe this one will be here. And see, I'm leaving gaps between the flowers because you do not want to stamp your next flower right next to the first flower, because that's the connection that you're going to create. You're going to create kind of these kind of connections that you see here. And that's what's going to help fold the flower to over the first flower. So it's going to help fold this flower over the first flower, so that way it creates that three-dimensional kind of look like you see here. So see, this is the first flower, and you want a gap. See that big gap there? Because that way I can easily fold it over like that. And the bigger the gap, the more you can fold over and manipulate the flower. I think that's enough for that flower. Clean up my stamp. And let me go ahead and get another one. I'm going to use this flower. I'm going to stagger it a little, like you see there. And then I want to put a butterfly. So let me go ahead and put a butterfly here. And actually I might want to use a big, let me go use this big butterfly. And I want to make the connection right here, so that's why I kind of angled it upward. And actually, I also want the bird. So let me go ahead and take this bird. And ideally, this bird, since it's facing, I would have loved, if this bird was facing this way, it would have been nice, something like that. But it's not, so I'm not going to use the bird. I might, however, use another large flower, put it there. And might put a teeny tiny flower right here. And a teeny tiny one right here. Okay, and I think I'm done with my strip. Okay. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and get, I'm using actually Prisma color, watercolor pencils. And I'm going to be using a blending tool. Okay, but you can use any kind of water pencils that you like. We're using these Stampin' Up, but I prefer, actually these have a smoother texture. The Stampin' Up wasn't as smooth when I'm blending it. This one has a better blending texture. So let's go over a little bit about doing your watercolors. If you want to have that kind of darker color on the edges and lighter color kind of fading inward, you want to go ahead and take your watercolor pencil or your marker, and you want to kind of darken the edges, the outline of the flower like I'm doing here. So I'm kind of darkening the outline of my flower. And then that way when you take your watercolor, or your blending pen, do a little more here. When you take your blending pen, it's a lot easier to blend the colors, and it looks more natural because you are bringing in the color from the top to the bottom. Okay, now I want to clean the tip, so you can do it anywhere in this strip of paper because all this is going to be cut out. And then I'm going to take another color for the center of my flower and just blend that in. You can see here. Okay, so I'm kind of done. I have one here partially done. Let's go ahead and put some yellow on my centers. You can even put rhinestones if you like on your centers. After I finish cutting out my flowers, what I do is I put some glitter glue on it. Okay, the next thing you're going to do is you're going to take a pencil and you're going to make lines between, these are going to be your connections. So you're going to cut everything. You're going to cut around the flower and you're going to cut in between your pencil marks. I started cutting it here, as you can see. So let me go ahead and finish cutting this flower. Okay, speed up the video. So basically you just cut the flowers out, making sure that you don't cut between the connections that you created with your pencil lines. And you don't have to worry about erasing the pencil lines. They're not going to see that. When you fold flowers over, it hides underneath it. So don't worry about your pencil line. Just make sure that you cut your flowers and try to cut it as close to the flower as possible. Okay, so I'm done with my cutout, so my foldie. So now it's time to fold it. So you're gonna fold it. So you fold it on this flower and you bring it across to the next flower. If you want this flower, now I want this flower to be the main flower, so I'm gonna fold this flower on the next, like so. Then you can fold this flower right there. And you try to fold it that you hide your connections. Okay, so go ahead and try to hide your connections. And then this one is going to go down and over. This one's going to go over. And then the butterfly over the flower. So there, that's your foldie. Okay, so now let's go ahead and create it. Oh, and before I'm finished, I usually like to put some kind of, either you can put glitter, a stone, or rhinestone, or anything in the middle, but I just use a regular, this glitter glue. And I just put some in the middle of each flower, and then I'm gonna put some on the body of my butterfly, and I'm gonna allow that to dry. But I do have another one that I have cut out already, so I'm gonna put that aside to dry. So let's go ahead and make a layout. Bring this over. And here are my foldies. These are some other embellishments that I cut out of the paper. These are my photo mats. And then this is I have a Sizzix die that cuts and emboss, and that's what I'm going to be using there. The paper that I'm using is Martha Stewart. Not Martha Stewart, this is actually Anna Griffin paper. I'm not sure what line it is, but it's just Anna Griffin. And this is actually a die cut from Quick Cuts. Let me see. Let me show you which die cut it is. Is this die cut? It's from the Cutterbug, and it embosses and cut at the same time. So that's the die cut that I use. And then I'm going to use some distressing ink to kind of distress my edges. And I'm gonna also use the distressing inks to kind of really bring up those embossing lines on this tag. Okay, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna use my corner crumper to kind of create that ticket edge on my mats, and then I'm just using Vintage Photo as my distressing ink to distress all the edges of all my layout. Now the scallop edge of that paper was created using the Cricut, and actually I used the cake cartridge on a shadow to create that scallop edge paper. So I use some just regular glue stick to glue my base page down, and now I'm just putting around my elements and my embellishments. I cut off that bird off because the bird, when I put it on my page, it was facing the wrong way. It was facing inward, and I wanted it to face towards the right instead of the left. So that's why I cut it out. And it was also upside down. When I put that foldie on, the bird was upside down. Now I like to put foam adhesive on some of the flowers, so that way it gives it a little more dimension, as well as the folding will give it dimension. But it also gives it a little more stability. And then I put my adhesive, my foam adhesive on the flowers that are like are gonna be sticking out or popped out of the page. And then I decided to put some on the bird as well. So I'm almost done with the layout. So I'm done with this page. So it needs a title. So more likely I'll put some kind of title here. Maybe a little, oh, I need some glue here. Usually I like to kind of put minimal glue when items are touching my photo mat, so that way I can insert pictures underneath. But it needs a title, and then maybe a little journaling here. And then, so this is my first page that you see here. And here's my second page. So I hope you like this tutorial. Give it a try. Find all your flower stamps, create these nice little roll of flowers, and then color them, cut them, and fold them, and you will have this nice little flat, three-dimensional looking flower cluster. So thank you for watching. Bye now.